Hello and welcome to Kidney Plugged In. The Kidney Foundation of Canada has a national research fund which provides research grants for the advancement of current knowledge in studies that include kidney health, kidney disease, organ donation, and transplantation. And we are very pleased to welcome Dr. Carolyn Lamarche to Kidney Plugged In. Dr. Lamarche received a 3-year KRESCENT Research Grant in 2017, which focused on the prevention of post-transplant rejection in kidney patients. The result of her research project wrapped up in June of 2020, and Dr. Lamarche joins us on this episode to discuss some of the results of that research project. Dr. Lamarche currently resides in Montreal and joins us today via Zoom interview. This informative interview and so much more is coming up next right here on Kidney Plugged In. So don't go anywhere.
Hi everyone, I'm pleased to welcome you today. We're about to interview Dr. Caroline Lamarche all the way from Montreal, who's going to be talking about her KRESCENT study that was funded by Kidney Foundation. Stay with us shortly. Okay, so I'm here with Dr. Caroline Lamarche. Dr. Lamarche, would you like to introduce yourself and just let us know how you were involved with the Kidney Foundation?
Hi, so I'm a trained nephrologist. I did my nephrology training in Montreal, and then I did a postdoctoral fellowship in Vancouver under the supervision of Megan Livings at UBC. And the project I was working on was funded by the KRESCENT Fellowship. So I was part of the KRESCENT program for 3 years, and it just ended in last June.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that introduction. So I'd love to ask you, what inspired you to get involved in the field of kidney and organ transplant research?
So I think because I'm a nephrologist, the inspiration came from my patients. So I've seen a lot of dialysis patients waiting for a transplant, or kidney transplant recipients that have kidney that is failing, or with bad side effects from the drugs we're giving them. So, and I really hate to be powerless. So I really want to be able to tell them I'm working on it. So I'm trying to make that situation a little bit better. But so I think my main inspiration came from them. But on a more personal level, my aunt also had lupus, and she was on dialysis for 5 years, and then she got a transplant. And because of the immunosuppressive drugs, she also got a cancer, and she died from it. So I think that was when I really decided to become a clinician scientist and to do that for a living.
That's incredibly inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing that and your personal interest as well. So to go into the further into your study, would you please describe your study for which you did receive the KRESCENT Award, Tailoring Antigen-Specific Regulatory T Cells for Use in Transplantation?
Yeah, so that looks a bit complicated, but I'll try to explain it the best as I can. So when you receive a transplant, your immune system sees that as foreign. So it starts to attack it and want to reject it. So in order to prevent that, we need to give patients immunosuppressive drugs that are really, really strong. Mm-hmm. But those are coming with a lot of side effects, such as cancer, infection, and cardiovascular disease. So my project, what we're aiming to do is to take the immune cells from a patient. So we collect the cells, we modify them in a lab, and we want to re-inject the patient his own immune system, but that has been improved to better tolerate and keep the graft. So if we succeed in that, we won't need to use the bad immunosuppressive drugs.
That makes sense. I'm just curious, like as a follow-up question, you said that cancer could actually be a side effect. Is there a particular kind of cancer, or is it dependent on the person, or?
It's mostly skin cancer.
Oh, okay.
But it's also lots of different cancers. And also some cancer are related to infection. So if we bring down your immune system too low, then you have more infection, and some of them can cause cancer in the long term.
That's very interesting. Thank you for elaborating on that. Stay with us. Shortly, we have more coming up with Dr. Lamarche.
Hey, honey, I lost the list for Jason's birthday thing. Obviously, hamburger, cakes. No, not hamburger cakes. Hamburgers and cake. And buns, sausage.
Okay. Ooh, eye candy.
Is it a full moon tonight? People are being weird. And don't forget to make the Facebook event private this time. Okay, bye.
Can you imagine losing most of something without realizing it? Over time, kidney disease can destroy up to 80% of kidney function before you notice any symptoms. Talk to your family doctor to see if you're at risk and need to be screened. It could save your life.
Welcome back to our special research episode of Plugged In as we continue on with Dr. Lamarche. Dr. Lamarche, why, in your opinion, or why is this field an essential area of study to improve the rate of successful organ transplants in the long term? And what does it mean for kidney transplant patients?
Yeah, so I think it's playing on all levels. So if we improve tolerance, so that's how you don't reject the organ and you keep it. We can increase graft survival, so that's directly an impact on the patient. But also, if we can decrease the amount of immunosuppressive drugs, we can decrease all the bad side effects. So in that way, we can increase patient survival and patients' quality of life.
Right.
But also, I don't know if lots of people know about it, but on the transplant list, there are actually lots of patients that are waiting for a second or third transplant because they lost a previous graft. So if we can improve graft survival, we can also help patients that are on the waiting list, waiting for a kidney.
Perfect, and thank you for elaborating on that, because I think even in the general public, a lot of people don't realize that just because you get a transplant, it's not like, bam, we're done.
No, exactly. So
Perfect.
Graft survival is not perfect. I think we can improve that. And once you have a transplant, you need to understand that you'll need to take drug for the rest of your life. So it's not magical.
Exactly, and I love how you noted the quality of life aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
So what were some main highlights and outcomes as a result of your study?
Yeah. So when I joined the lab, they've used the technology that we're aiming to use. They showed that this technology is really good to prevent graft rejection in mice. But my work was to bring this technology from mice to human. So I think that's a really, really important step, especially for a clinician, because I want to see the impact in patient. Mm-hmm. So we were able to do that, so to bring this technology and humanize it, so make it more suitable for human. And the first clinical trials should start in 2021 probably. I don't know because of COVID, but it will be used and tested in human. So I'm really proud that I was able to do this bridge between mice and human.
That's fantastic.
And then, so I was working on 3 different little projects. So my second project was we ask ourselves the question, when is the best time to use this technology? Is it better to use it to prevent rejection or to treat rejection once it's there? And also don't want to enter into the details, but there are 2 types of rejection, and we knew this technology would work on one, but we shown that it's actually good to prevent both type of rejections, and it's better to use them in prevention than in treatment. So we were able to define this a little bit better in order to plan the first in-human clinical trial.
That's very interesting. And yes, thank you for noting that. So you were working under Dr. Megan Loving's lab at UBC, correct? And so it was using technologies that they had already used, and yet collaboratively you were able to expand upon that. Is that correct? So working with them, I needed their coaching, but we modified the technology to adapt it to human. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Stay tuned. We have more coming up with Dr. Lamarche shortly.
Welcome to Kidney Plugged In, where we've got you covered for COVID. In this time of COVID-19, it is more important than ever to take care of ourselves. Here are some easy ideas to get you started. Eat well-balanced meals. Contact family or friends virtually, by phone, or even snail mail. How about meditate, even for 2 minutes? Create a gratitude journal. Practice deep breathing. Listen to your favorite music. Increase your physical activity. A healthy body leads to a healthy mind. Limit upsetting media coverage. Do something kind. Get outdoors and spend time in nature. Dance, dance, dance. Create a new recipe. Read a book, or even 2. We're plugged in, and we've got you covered for COVID.
Welcome back as we continue with Dr. Lamarche. So what did receiving a KRESCENT grant as a postdoc student mean for you as a young postdoc researcher, and how did it help in the beginning of your career?
Yeah, so I don't know if people know about that, but the KRESCENT Fellowship is not only a salary grant or money, it's also, we have meetings twice a year. And in those meetings, we have lots of tips and conferences on how to become a young investigator, how to go from a PhD or postdoc researcher to a young investigator, and then from a young investigator to a successful principal investigator. So those meetings were incredible in order to go from one step to another. So I think it really helped me into that. And like I just said, I just started my lab. So I think I'm using all those tips currently and I'm applying those. But also in those meetings, it was really about meeting other Canadian researchers and meeting the community and building a network. Because now in science, we need to collaborate together and work all together. So I think those were the 2 main things for me.
That's fantastic. Yeah, lovely. Thank you for sharing that. And what do you view, in your opinion, as the most important opportunities or pressing needs for research right now in the field of kidney disease and organ transplant?
So I'll preach for my work.
Yeah.
I'll say that in kidney transplant, it's really, really about developing that tolerance. So how to accept the kidney and the graft without all those drugs with those bad side effects. And also, if we are tolerant, we won't have rejection and we'll be able to increase graft and patient survival. So I think that should be our main goal. But also, if you go a little bit broader than that, if we learn to play with the immune system a little bit better, we could also get better at treating other diseases like autoimmune diseases where your own immune system attack your kidneys and your body, to prevent chronic kidney disease. So to work a little bit before transplant. Hopefully patients won't need a transplant if we're better.
Well, and does that go a little bit back to what you were saying with your aunt and like lupus, for example, as a pre-existing condition that would result in?
Yeah, exactly. So so because of her lupus, she lost her kidneys. And so if we could prevent that, that would be amazing. But also, in order to treat her lupus, we gave her those bad immunosuppressive drugs that in the end, with the transplant, caused cancer.
Right.
So I really think we can do better, and we'll be able to help lots of patients if we do that.
That's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. Stay tuned. We have more coming up shortly with Dr. Lamarche.
Let's see, so kidney is a... These are my grandpa's kidney stones. They're very precious. Kidney is a bone in your back that helps you turn. I don't know, to be honest.
They don't know kidneys are vital, do you? Get the facts at kidney.ca.
We're plugged in, and we've got you covered for COVID. Children and adults with chronic kidney disease and kidney transplant recipients are at a higher risk of serious illness, including COVID-19. The following advice from Health Canada can help reduce the risk of infection or spreading infection to other people. Health Canada is calling COVID-19 a serious health threat, and the situation is evolving daily. The risk to Canadians is considered high. This does not mean that all Canadians will get the disease. It means that there is already a significant impact on the healthcare system. As new information becomes available, the public health risk is continually assessed. People with COVID-19 may have little or no symptoms. You may not know you have COVID-19 symptoms because they are similar to a cold or flu. Symptoms have included fever, cough, difficulty breathing, and pneumonia in both lungs. In severe cases, infection can lead to death. Currently, there is no specific treatment for COVID-19. Most people with mild coronavirus illness will recover on their own. No vaccine for COVID-19 is available at this time. So what should you do if you experience flu-like symptoms? Contact your healthcare provider and/or your kidney healthcare team to ask for further advice. Stay home and avoid others if possible. If you have a medical appointment, call the office ahead of time for further advice. Good information is the first step towards prevention. The Public Health Agency of Canada website offers detailed information on COVID-19 and provides regular updates. We recommend consulting their COVID-19 disease outbreak update pages to learn more about COVID-19 and the steps you can take to protect yourself and your loved ones. Most importantly, before making any decision that could affect your health, consult your doctor. We're plugged in, and we've got you covered for COVID.
Welcome back. We're here with Dr. Lamarche. So Dr. Lamarche, do you foresee, or do you want to go into a little bit of the impact that COVID is going to have on your field of research and how you operate in the lab, as well as the impact it might have on chronic kidney patients?
Yeah, so of course, COVID-19 is really hard on us, especially in basic science, because we usually need to work in closed spaces, like in labs. We work usually all together, and the lab were closed for a while, and they're just starting to open up again. And we have to work with reduced teams or to schedule everything not to be at the same time. So it's a bit difficult in that regard. I think the good thing about COVID-19 is that it opened up to lots of collaboration between researchers. So it was not our expertise. None of us were experts in COVID because it didn't exist, but we're now all trying to work together to find ways to improve patients' care and patient survival. So I think for us as a nephrologist as well, it had a huge impact for our patients because all our patients are high risk. So all the CKD patients and of course all the transplant recipients are high risk. So yeah, we're really trying to study how their immune system reacts to COVID-19 and try to improve that.
So that was really something interesting that you noted. Are there some common questions that you're facing from your kidney patients living with chronic kidney disease? And what are some of those questions and how are you addressing them?
Yeah, so it's really about, I think there's a lot of anxiety coming from our patients. So it's really what are their chances of survival? What should we do with their meds if they have it? Should they send their kids to daycare and school? And what should they do about it? And it's really hard for clinicians because we don't have those answers. So we have a little bit of data, but it's really sparse. And we would love to have the right answer and say, oh, yeah, it's okay. It's not your risk are this, this, and this, but it's all a bit blurry still. So yeah, we would like to reassure them a little bit more.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, from your perspective, it's not black and white. We're all trying to figure it out together. Stay tuned. We have more coming up with Dr. Lamarche shortly.
I'm really pleased to be here with Jess Pernack, registered dietitian, and we're going to talk about some kidney-friendly and maybe some not-so-kidney-friendly foods right now. So with kidney patients, there is no one perfect diet.
Right.
And depending on their level of kidney function, they have to have certain restrictions. So they have to avoid foods that are high in calcium, sodium, protein, potassium, and phosphorus.
Yes.
And maybe we could start with phosphorus.
So these are some high and low phosphorus foods.
So we've got high,
Yeah.
and so for people with kidney disease, these may be foods that they want to avoid,
Exactly.
depending
yes.
on where they are with their kidney function.
Exactly.
Right.
So it would be an easy, like rather than doing like cow's dairy milk, you could do a really lovely unsweetened almond milk. If you're craving, something hot to drink, rather than doing hot chocolate, you could just do a tea.
Right.
So it's one of those, swap this for that.
And what else have we got here?
Yeah, so we have, cheese, unfortunately, is high in phosphorus. Salami and those delicious pepperoni sticks tend to be high in phosphorus.
Right.
So a nice other protein source would be eggs. And I just picked like an organic, free-range, happy chicken kind of egg.
Okay, well, actually that's perfect. So the other one that I wanted to talk about was potassium. And when I think of potassium, the first thing that comes to my mind is bananas.
Yes, yes.
And I see we've got some bananas sitting there. So
yeah, so these are high potassium foods, hence why you zeroed in on the banana.
Right.
So what's interesting though, so beets, if you had about 2 beets, that's about the equivalent of a banana. Or even like a half of an avocado is going to be high in potassium as well. So things that you might want to avoid.
And I'm guessing then the products at the end are the low potassium.
Low potassium.
Okay.
So we got any sort of rice, lots of different pasta, and then again, if you can't do bananas, do an apple instead, which actually matches the phosphorus group. Alfalfa, put that on in a salad or in a sandwich instead of like avocados, and then cucumbers.
Thanks so much, Jess. Lots of great information here for our viewers.
It's been fun. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us on Healthy Are You.
We're Kidney Plugged In, and we've got you covered for COVID. Doctors are using virtual care, meaning they are connecting with their patients either by phone or video conference more and more now during COVID-19. Virtual appointments can help keep you and your doctor safe during this difficult time, while still being able to address many of your healthcare needs. Here are some tips to help you prepare for your virtual appointment. First, think about where you'd like to have a conversation with your doctor. It's a good idea to choose a quiet, well-lit space without distractions. It's also a good idea to write down a few important points to remind yourself of what you want to discuss. Have your medical or care card ready, as well as the name, address, and phone number of your preferred pharmacy. Make sure you have a list of all the medications you are currently taking. Have on hand any medical devices your doctor may have recommended. This might include a thermometer, bathroom scale, or home blood pressure monitor. Lastly, but certainly not least, for some patients, virtual care may not feel comfortable at first, but try to keep an open mind. Many patients soon realize they like to see their doctor this way because it's convenient and easy. We're Kidney Plugged In, and we've got you covered for COVID.
So Dr. Lamarche, is there any leaving thoughts that you want to leave us with in terms of Crescent and how it impacted your career?
Yeah, so I think there's not a lot of women doing research, and there are not a lot of women doing basic research particularly. So it was really useful for me as well to meet other amazing women doing research through the Crescent Fellowship. And I think we have to work together in order to have more women doing research.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that thought. And also congratulations, 6 weeks, your baby is 6 weeks old now?
Yeah, 7 now.
7 weeks, yes, perfect, thank you. So Dr. Lamarche, I want to thank you one more time. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And it was really a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks to all the car donations made to the Kidney Car program, the Kidney Foundation of Canada can help all these people with kidney disease. Those donations are instrumental in providing them with care and invaluable support. When you give your car to the Kidney Car program, it will be towed for free and recycled or resold. You'll also receive a tax receipt of at least $300. To continue to improve the quality of life of thousands of patients, we need your car today.
It's probably going to be worse, to be honest. You know, it's always better the first time, but I will do it again. Yeah. Welcome back. We have more with Dr. Lamarche. Stay with us shortly. We have more. We're going to be interviewing Dr. Caroline Lamarche from Montreal, who just received. Sorry, didn't mean to swear. Okay.
Nozzle was kind of there the whole time.
Was it there the whole time?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a good thing during COVID. No.
Actually, it's not a bad thing. It shows we're being safe.